Hello and welcome back. This is Paul, and in today's episode of the Darkside of Git, we are going to continue talking about history manipulation. Last week we saw what resetting is and how we can undo some commits. This week we'll talk about rebasing. You know how a branch always started at one commit of another branch and then possibly started diverging? Well, rebasing is the action of setting a new starting point for the series of commits in the history of a branch. To see rebasing in action, we are going to use our familiar commit tree with two branches. We currently have the feature/x branch checked out. We want to rebase the feature branch onto develop. Remember, develop is the light green commit numbered 4. When our rebase action started, the two commits on the feature branch were detached from the tree. Git still knows how many commits we had, what order they were made in, and all the changes in each, but they have no more parent. Each of the detached commits is now applied on top of the develop branch, almost like we only just made those commits right now. The commits are applied in the exact order they were in. Notice how their hashes have changed now that they have different ancestry, different parents, but different hashes. Like we've seen in the commit graph, rebasing can be an alternative to merging for bringing changes in two diverging branches together. Also obvious from the graph is that even though we brought two branches together, we don't have a merge commit, and our history is linear, as if we worked on only one branch. As you can imagine, this is very appreciated by developers. And it's also one of the most misused features. As in the case of resetting, our Git history will have changed after a rebase, and if we rebase the branch that was of interest to multiple people, we have just ruined our collaboration workflow. We also have to bear in mind that no merge commit means no traceability of when a merge happened and where some changes came from. But the most interesting and confusing problem with a rebase is that if you have conflicts in your tree, you will have to potentially fix them for every commit, one by one, as the rebased commits are being reapplied. This means you will have to enter conflict resolution multiple times until your rebase is done. But first, let's see who is looking at a certain branch. When we say that a branch is of interest to multiple people, we usually mean that the branch has been pushed to a remote and has potentially been checked out by others. Even in a clean workflow, like the one displayed here, we have to be careful. Although it seems that only our orange smiley face is active on the develop branch, if we look closer we can see that the green smiley faces branch started from commit 2 on develop. And if we look even deeper, we can see that both smiley faces actually have an interest in the main branch, as the commit number 1 on that branch is the source of both develop and the feature branch. What if we were to rebase the develop branch onto main right now? Head is pointing at main, so when we run the git rebase command like here, we actually tell Git we want a new base for our whole develop branch. And that base is the tip of the main branch. And yes, we don't need to be very specific either. The command will just take all divergent commits and rebase them. Rebase just applies each of the commits from develop onto the latest commit on main. But look what happened to the feature branch. Essentially nothing. That's surprising. We can see commits 1 and 2 from develop are still in the feature branch's history. If we now switch and try to merge the latest changes in develop into our feature branch, well, those two commits are still the same. And yes, we will have a huge problem. This is maybe us right now. As we've seen, commits 1 and 2 from the develop branch appear twice in our graph. When we try to bring the changes together, Git won't know that the commits are identical because their hash is different. Remember, in this case, the hashes are different because the parents of the commits are different, even though they contain the exact same changes. Remember that branches are branches. Whether they are remote or local does not matter. The situation is the same. If you rebase and then suddenly need a forced push, just don't do it. This week we had a shorter episode. Check back next week for a discussion on squashing and cherry picking. This was Paul, and if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you next week!